Good afternoon and welcome to AM News Network Presents Summary Judgment. We're transmitting live on this Sunday afternoon from the American News Media Center here in Central Connecticut. I'm attorney Rachel Beard and I'm joined by Ed Peruta, President of American News and Information Services. Good afternoon, Ed.
Good afternoon. Is this something new?
Yeah.
Does that work?
I don't know if that works.
I don't know if that works or not.
I guess we'll see.
That's weird.
What do you have on the table today?
I don't have a lot on the table today, but I do have this to say.
Okay.
Today is Sunday, not Saturday, and it's 4 o'clock thereabouts, not 1 o'clock thereabouts. So let's try and do this. You and someone else are taking a course for the next 6 weeks on Saturdays.
I am, from 9:30 to 3:30.
So why don't we see if we can do the show on Sundays rather than Saturdays, okay? It may be more beneficial and easier on everybody to be able to do the show on a Sunday rather than a Saturday, and we may be able to narrow down the time that we do it.
Well, we have puppy class with Emmy every Sunday
class
at 1 o'clock. So by the time we get back and everything and get settled in, I think 4 o'clock is probably a reasonable time to.
And you can tell we've got somebody good in me because you're going to have to get used to looking at that camera right there, and I have to get used to looking at that camera right there, and we have to get used to looking at that camera right there.
Well, to be honest, I usually look in that direction because
I know. So here's I only bring a couple of things to the table. One. And it was very interesting to me because I've been getting butt screwed for all of 20 years, okay? And the Federal Communications Commission has launched a new map. It's the map of broadband service. It's the map of internet and internet speed and who's covering where, okay? Now, I chased cell phone companies because back in the late 80s, I was shooting news 24/7. And I got paid $50 for a tip and $50 for a clip. So if I called up a TV station news desk and said, "Are you aware of a triple homicide?" They would normally say, "Oh, yeah, we got it." I said, "Okay." They said, "Where is it?" No, you're not getting it for free. So if I told them something before they knew about it, and I covered it or they covered it, I got paid $50. If I brought them the videotape from the scene, I got paid another $50. So you could have a Diane Gellenbach, a bank executive, was killed in Hartford by a young man by the name of Daniel Webb, who was on death row and now is serving life. And I got a tip. So I called 4 news stations and got 4 tips. And then they had him cornered on a street, and I made 4 phone calls and got 4 more tips. And then I called when they had him in Keeney Park, and I got 4 more tips. So I made $1,200 riding from here to New London to go to Martha's Vineyard in my truck. But at the time, I had what was called Connecticut Telephone. And I had a Panasonic, it looked like a lunchbox, that sat on a console in my Isuzu Trooper, and it looked like a regular phone handset. And I was paying 35 cents per minute or any portion thereof. So if I spoke for 61 seconds, I paid 70 cents. My cell bill was $1,800 a month. But I was making money, okay, doing those tips and clips. No problem. So I would always buy the most up-to-date cell phone. Then they came out with.
So when you say you've been taken advantage of, I guess that's you were always buying the most up-to-date thing, and then something else would come, and so
no, I'm going to give
catch up?
You would think that would be the good part, but here's the real part. Okay, hold on a minute. I'm on the air. Okay, bye. Okay, so here's the way it works. I was going to be going out to California, and California had supposedly had 5G. 5G was just coming out, and I said, "Well, do they have 5G in San Diego?" Yes. So I bought, and they had two different kind, GSM and some other kind of plan, network. So I bought the phone. It cost 100 times more than a regular phone, so I could talk on both networks, and I would be getting 5G. I went out to California, and I couldn't get on the air. I couldn't get on. But here's what I told them. When they tell you you get unlimited data, and they sell you a Maserati to drive the Autobahn at 200 miles an hour, but they sell it to you in a country where they got nothing but dirt roads. The Maserati's never going to get its full potential.
In a country that's just
In a country, yeah. I was buying all of the equipment to take advantage of what they publicized, but I couldn't take advantage of what they publicized. And I got in a real pissing contest with Sprint over that. And it was a lie. They were lying to me. So what happened was in 2020, I guess the federal government and the FCC said to these phone carriers and whoever, okay, broadband, you're gonna give us an accurate map of like where your towers are and where you can speak and where you can't speak, and they've come out with the map, and it says the Federal Communications Commission has launched a new map designed to show consumers what kind of cellular coverage they can expect in a given area from AT&T, T-Mobile, US Cellular, and Verizon. It's been a long time coming, and it doesn't address home internet availability. But it looks like an improvement over the agency's woefully inadequate and inaccurate past attempts to show gaps in the nation's broadband coverage. So I guess now there's a new map out there that you can look at, because they give you.
Is that it right there? 'Cause
This
that
is
looks
it.
really
I
confusing.
can't really see it so much, but
Probably digital would be better.
yeah. And so here's what I'm saying. They give you 14, 15 days or 30 days. If you don't like your phone, you can take it back. Well, I buy a phone when I'm in California, and it works fine, but I bring it to Connecticut and I can't talk shit on it, but it's over 15 days, so I'm stuck with the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. They were lying to us. So I wanted to at least say that. Then we have.
Well, let me just comment on that. You'll remember what's next, right? Because you have it right in front of you. I know sometimes when I
Go ahead.
interrupt, you forget
No,
what you're
go
going to
ahead.
say, but I think you'll remember that, right?
Go ahead.
Okay.
This.
Now I forgot what I was going to add.
The fence guys.
No, wait, no. To your thing about the cell phone.
Oh.
Oh, I know what I was going to add. I mean, you and I. Well, maybe not you. I can remember when I didn't know what a cell phone was in the '90s.
We still have that device.
Well, that big thing that you had, the cell phone.
No, the BlackBerry that you had.
Well, I think my first phone was in 2000, which was a Nokia. I mean, I came to the game kind of late, and so unlike you, I still feel amazed at anything basically that a cell phone does. It's crazy the things we can do now.
You're holding more
so
power.
I'm kind of the other way.
You're holding more power in the computing power in the palm of your hand
Yeah.
than was on the initial space shuttle.
Maybe.
The initial space shuttle had a 286 computer with a backup 286 computer before Pentium, before all of that shit, before whatever.
So that was my only comment.
And I remember when I first met you, you were trying to tap it out on a BlackBerry.
I had a BlackBerry for a while. I had a.
Everybody had one.
I had a Trio. Not everybody had a
Well,
BlackBerry.
a lot of people had. I was
Yeah.
amazed that you could send text messages by a keyboard on a phone. I'm
Right.
going, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, we've been through them all.
Yeah. Thousands, tens of thousands of dollars.
As is
worth of
everybody
equipment.
out there.
So, but they evidently have come out with a new. I guess if you Google FCC broadband map, cellular map, you'll find the map.
We talked about an FCC case on here one time. I forget what it was. It came out by the Supreme Court and it had to do with something. But anyway, you know,
Whatever.
you know, FCC reminds me of, because it's a government agency acronym, reminds me of FAA.
Yeah.
You know, I've been watching a lot of these plane crash shows on YouTube, especially, and it just seems like flying is really scary, doesn't it? Because
Well, I think flying's
there
more
are
scared about.
so many mistakes that can be made, and so many people that aren't really watching what they're doing, and all it takes is one little thing for that plane to go down. And the FAA doesn't have a lot of control over the airlines, over the manufacturers. It's like a revolving door with these people, and they're afraid to say anything, and even if they say anything, they don't have much power. So anyway, that reminded me of some of those shows I'm watching. I don't know when I'll fly again, Ed.
Well, all I can tell you is this, okay? I'm more afraid of what's inside the plane now than I am about the plane itself.
Did you watch that clip that I sent you about the flight attendant
Yes.
who
Grab somebody in duct tape.
It's gone viral, but if you haven't seen it, just look up flight attendant duct tape, and I'm sure you'll find it. But this guy is hilarious in the way he tells the story. I mean, it's amazing that there are people out there with that amount of comedic talent who are doing jobs where it's not really necessary, although probably as a flight attendant it's very helpful to have that sense of humor, but certainly not, you know, a necessary part of their job description. I mean, that guy, the way he could speak and the sounds he was making
About ripping the tape.
the duct tape, he had it exactly right. So for the two people who haven't seen that yet, really just Google duct tape flight attendant, and it was really hilarious.
It was.
Yeah. So what did we discover this week, Ed? We discovered.
I'll tell you what I discovered.
Okay, I think it's the same thing I was going to say.
Well, you say it first.
Yeah, we learned a lot this week about homeowner associations, about property managers, and about people who live in the units of the common interest communities that are run by these associations, and all of the interplay and conflicts of interest that are within those three entities.
Well, I have owned and lived in a condominium since at least 1989 when I got my first condo. I didn't know what a condo was, but I got involved in a condo in 1989, and I still own that condo. And then I bought the one next door, right beside it. And recently I just bought another one. I had an opportunity to buy another one, and that's okay. But I have had issues with the people who manage our condominium in Rocky Hill.
Let me explain what I think the dynamic is. A condo association has a board, and the board is comprised of the unit owners, and they work for a living. They have other things to do. They're not being paid to do this, and they come and go. You know, either they move or they just aren't on the board for that long. So property managers actually run the lawn maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And so you have a property manager or property management company that's in there over the long term. And the people on the board kind of come and go and put whatever effort they can into it, or no effort at all. It depends on who it is. And so the property management company actually becomes or takes up the role of the board. Because they are there for the long term, they know what's going on, they're getting paid, and so they start to run things.
Let me tell you what happens. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. A condominium association has a board of directors, and they come from within the community.
Mm-hmm.
The president, there could be a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, that are serving on a board, say a 7-member board. And a lot of these people, why did they run to be on the board? They may be a 1 or 2 issue candidate.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I don't like the budget's too high. I don't like the pool rules. I don't like the way the snow is plowed. I don't like the way the grass is mowed. And they come onto the board. Well, then when you come onto the board, you're faced with all of the issues that come before the board, and some of them you may not know anything about.
Right.
Okay? And I have had my issues with not so much the board of directors, because they're my fellow property owners, but I've had a problem with the same management company who has controlled the Westridge Condominium Association in Rocky Hill since at least 1989. That's 32 years.
I mean, I think in state and federal government, local government as well, the same issues come up. There are your elected officials who come and go, although they are getting paid, so they really have no excuse. They come and go, but they delegate a lot of their authority to people that are bureaucrats who have been in the system a long time and supposedly know what they're doing, and so those are the people that are actually making the decisions, not the person that was elected. And in your condominium case, the people that are on the board aren't the ones making the decisions. The decisions are being made for them by the property management company, but they make it seem like the board is making the decision.
And they're rubber stamping
yes.
decisions made by the management company.
Now, I told you that when your property management company was pushing the board to get some sort of amendment to the bylaws or the declaration so they'd be indemnified if the pool opened and anybody sued about COVID, I said, you know what, Ed, that's not about the board, that's about the property management company. They're the ones that are worried that if the pool opens and somebody gets COVID,
they're not insured.
Right. The property management company will end up being the ones to get sued because they're the agents.
Right.
They're the ones doing all the work, and they're the ones who are being delegated all the authority.
Well, let me. I had asked several years ago, at least 2 or 3 years ago, to the management company. I said, look, I would like you to give me the contact information of all of the owners. There's 168 units, which means that there's 168 owners. Now, it can be a husband and a wife, and they're joint owners, but there's 168 owners. So I wanted 168 names and addresses so that I could do a mailing, do an email, do whatever.
Well, I mean, you own 3 of them, so
there's other people that probably own multiple units.
So there's not necessarily 168 owners.
So there's 168 units.
Right.
Now, I was told at the time that they weren't going to give it to me. And I kind of walked away from that, saying, well, what can I do? And lately, I've had a pissing contest over water damage to one of my units that came from somewhere up above me. Whether it was in the unit above me or in the walls, through the ceiling, through the roof, I don't care. It's coming down through a common wall into my unit. So the first place I go is to where I see the water coming in, condo association. And some pissing contest started. So I decided
to look at the law.
To start reading in great detail.
That always helps.
Now, it goes like this. You have the declaration document. That's like the Constitution of the condo association. The declaration. Now you have the bylaws. The bylaws are like the state laws. You have a federal constitution, you have federal law, you have a state constitution, you have state law. In a condo, you have a declaration, and then you have the bylaws, which is the constitution and the condo laws. And then you have rules and regulations. And it's almost like a mini government of 168 people that have formed their mini little government. You get taxed in the form of condo fees. You pay for the snow plowing and the lawn mowing and minor repairs to common property. But I started reading
What did you start reading?
everything.
The bylaws?
I started with the declaration
Right.
and the bylaws and the rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, under state law, and then there's a state statute. There's section, title 825, section 47.
Mm-hmm. Close enough.
And then there's chapter 828,
There you go.
section
chapter.
427.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading state law. And state law says that the management company has to keep a list of contact information, and they have to give it to an owner if they ask for it. And I'm sitting there saying, boy, I got butt stroked on that one, didn't I? Well, I'm not going to get butt stroked again. And then they did some things. They were trying to amend the declarations. It's like trying to make a constitutional amendment in a condo association. And they sent out these ballots, and they wanted the ballots to come in, and I started reading the state law. I started reading the declarations. I started reading the bylaws,
Which say Robert's Rules of Order.
which says that Robert's Rules of Order shall be followed. Well, I haven't told you this yet. I went out on eBay yesterday and I bought some copies of Robert's Rules.
Excellent.
And I'm going to send one to the management company, and I'm going to send one to the president of the association and say, you better start reading, because you are an attorney. I have asked you to handle this for me. I went out and got a second opinion just to make sure that I wasn't on shaky ground, because you had said to me, look, you know, I'm not really a condo lawyer. It's not like I'd have to study to get up to speed. So I went and gave all of the information and put it in front of a condo lawyer, a very prominent condo lawyer. And they said to me, you got a slam dunk case on your damage to your unit. And then I was told that as far as representing me against the HOA, which is a homeowners association, there could be a problem because the majority of her clients are HOAs.
Well, let me interject here, and let's think about that issue a little bit, because we've discussed it. Where are you most likely as an attorney to make the most money?
Working for Imagineers.
Working for a property management company,
Right.
or not working for a property management company, but being an attorney on the list of a property management company whom they recommend to associations to represent them. Because associations, as far as I know, do not pick out their own attorney. The property management company does it. So,
I can explain it so everybody on the other side of the camera can understand this. There are politicians who advocate a woman's right to have an abortion, and the Catholic Church says you're going to get excommunicated. A lawyer who represents homeowners associations, who chooses to represent an owner against the homeowners association, and gets a lawsuit legal decision that really puts all of the homeowners associations under a microscope, is going to go like this. Wait a minute, you did this for him and we got screwed.
yeah, I don't even think that the result would have to be a big decision or anything. I just think in that area of law, there's a limited number of property management companies in Connecticut. There's a limited number of condo associations in Connecticut. So if you start representing unit owners, you are going to be frozen out of representing those bigger clients.
But what I said to you, and I believe this is true, there's more people with issues against an HOA than there are HOAs, you know what I'm saying? In other words, there's more little guys with problems than there are big guys, because the big guys, they just trample over top of them.
Well, yeah, but the problem always with the little guys is they have to get together the funding to be able to do anything.
But it says in the bylaws that the association operates under Robert's Rules of Order.
Mhm.
Now, I happen to know that if you are very familiar with Robert's rules and you're dealing with a company that or an organization that is obligated to follow Robert's rules, you can wreak havoc at a meeting with different motions.
Which isn't the goal.
It's not the goal at all. All I wanted was a fair election, and I'm tired of the management company, and how many times have you heard us say this? Controlling the narrative. And I'll give you an example. During COVID, our board of directors at Westage decided that rather than renting a church hall and having a monthly or bi-monthly board of directors meeting, they would do it on Zoom. And so they have a Zoom meeting. And you log in, you see all of the faces of the people on the board and the people who are attending the meeting electronically, and you sit back and you say to yourself, okay, and then you read the minutes the next month and you go, wait a minute, that wasn't said, or that's wrong. Can you do me a favor? Just hit the record button on these Zoom meetings. Make a record, record it.
Why wouldn't you?
So I can compare the minutes that are going to be published and the statements that were made, the exact wordage. And what happened was, they initially said no 2 years ago. Our platform, in other words, Imagineer's website, didn't have the capability of hosting videos of meetings. And I said, oh, well, now they're doing Zoom. And back in, I believe it was April 8th, whenever, February, whatever, they said, oh yeah, we're gonna record the meetings. And the secretary on the board puts in her minutes, she goes, it's gonna help the secretary create accurate minutes of the meeting, because she can go and listen to the exact words that were said and copy them down in the minutes. But it's the minutes that are the official record, not the Zoom meeting. But the Zoom meeting lets you double check what's in the meeting. So there was like, okay, we're going to start recording the Zoom meetings. So I walked in and I asked the question at like one of the follow-up meetings about recording. Oh, no, we're not going to record. On the advice of counsel, the lawyer says that once you post that video, you lose control of the video. In other words, people can chop it up and make you look like a fool. Well, that's too bad. It's too bad. Government does it. Government has to do it. Record and publish the Zoom meeting. So,
and we've had that reaction to some of the depositions we've done in cases against government officials where their counsel have objected because they're worried we're going to do whatever. So that's a common objection based on something that happens so infrequently that it's amazing how often it's brought up as a reason not to publish these things.
In the minutes that I currently possess, the manager, Sherry Kellner, has said, I have said at every meeting that these meetings will not be recorded and draft copies of minutes will not be given to anybody until they're whatever, okay? But then I go back and I see where I ask the question and she says, oh yeah, they'll be ready for viewing. In other words, the decision was to record and allow people to see it. Arbitrarily, unilaterally, there's no motion at the board to end that or to prevent it from starting.
And I'd be interested to know this attorney who purportedly represents the association. Number one, I highly doubt that the association went out and looked for this attorney. This attorney was on a list probably that the property management company had. And like we said before, if that attorney started to represent unit owners, I'm sure that he would no longer be on that list of property management companies. But it's highly doubtful that the board went to this attorney and got advice about whether they should air their meetings or record their meetings and make them available. No, that's the property management company that did that. they're the ones that went and got that advice and then said it was the board that got it.
Right.
You know, and there are many areas of law like this, but they don't have the same impact as this particular area of property management and condos or common interest communities. For example, landlord and tenant. There are attorneys who represent both landlords and represent tenants. That's because landlords are everywhere. They're not as such a closed circle where if you get in, you know, a bad reputation with some landlords, then you'll never be able to represent another landlord again. They're everywhere, and so even if you represent tenants, if you know the law, landlords are still going to represent you. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I've had so many things that make sense that nobody else sees that sense, which tells me that they're senseless.
Yeah, but you know, I have said to you, Ed, that not everybody prioritizes the same things. Other people are focused on other things. So although it's frustrating that other people don't understand or care to understand what you're saying, they have issues too that you don't care to understand or go into any further. So we have to work on the issue.
Well,
we have to read the law and not get too frustrated.
I will tell you this. It is my personal opinion that Imagineers LLC from Farmington Avenue in West Hartford, Connecticut, has been managing the Westage Condominium complex far too long with the same property manager who must feel very comfortable in being able to just walk into a meeting, telling the board what's going to happen, and it happens.
I think it's a completely human thing to do where
she's very comfortable.
You have a client for 30 years. You're not going. Hopefully, it doesn't happen, but it can happen where you start taking that person for granted. It shouldn't happen, but it kind of does, and your focus goes to the people who you're trying to bring in as new clients, who are kind of newer, and you're trying to show them to keep them as clients. And you have to check yourself to make sure that you're not doing that, because people that have been with you 30 years are valued people. But I do think that this management company feels completely too comfortable being in there for so long, and I think they think that they run the condo.
I have had a complaint. You put in a work order. You know, I have damage. That work order is over 30, 40 days, 35 days, and nothing's happening. No one is contacting us to tell us what's going on, okay? I am going to have to sue the management company and possibly my association to get the repairs done that the bylaws and everything says should be fixed by them, okay? I'm going to have to sue them to make them do what is written in the declaration documents and the bylaws of the organization, because I read it. Now, maybe they're not reading it. Maybe they're becoming very defensive. But I got to tell you, now that I've been getting in there and reading,
it always helps.
And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. What happened when? What happened when? What happened when? That wasn't right. That wasn't right. And that wasn't right. There's a whole bunch of things that aren't right that have been scooting along, on a slippery slope. Just nobody was asking any questions. Okay, fine. Let's do it this way. I know for a fact that they were going to do some kind of an election. And prior to that election, I started questioning what happened at the previous election and had read the bylaws and read the documents, declaration documents.
Bylaws and rules.
And bylaws and rules.
Statutes.
And knew that there was a problem. And it was right before they were going to do it again that they said, we're not going to do it. We don't have enough people to vote. Well, I didn't realize it, but you're right. You didn't have enough people to vote. Okay? So, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, you and perhaps me assisting you could make some big changes in Connecticut that would help homeowners, unit owners of these common interest communities, because I have a feeling there aren't a whole lot of attorneys that practice exclusively in that area who represent unit owners, homeowners, because
the big money's not there.
the big money's not there. So there are attorneys who probably do a lot of work in there, but that's not their exclusive work. And
Well, we'll keep everybody posted.
okay, we'll keep
Okay.
everybody posted.
Now, I know that you want to get into fences, but before you do that,
I don't have to.
Okay, I got one that I got to get into. Two issues. The word eviction, moratorium on evictions expired last weekend.
Right.
Moratorium on paying student loans has been extended. Okay? And I'm pretty hot on the federal government telling a landlord that they have to provide free rental to someone because of COVID.
I don't understand how the landlords aren't going into foreclosure on their properties.
You're 100%
I don't know,
correct.
I don't know how they're able to make it.
Listen, when they had the financial meltdown in 2008, 94, 2008, people lost their homes. Big businesses, it was too big to fail, remember?
Well, I mean, but on the other hand, there are people who do care about keeping up their rent, and
Okay.
if they're able to, then they do. So it's not like everybody's not paying their rent.
Here's what happened. On a Wednesday night, a Friday night, a Thursday night, there was a article, a topic in the news. And it was about the moratorium on evictions. Was it going to be extended, yes or no? And in the segment, it said that the federal government or someone had gone to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had said, because of COVID, we're going to let this run through July 31st. But come October 1st, you better have the authority of the Congress to do this, or it's not happening. Okay? Now, during that segment,
Do you
they had.
do you think if we pick that phone up?
Hello?
Because I feel like people are calling, but we're just not getting
Hello?
No.
it. No?
It's cold.
Oh, I hear a phone ringing. Maybe it's the phone upstairs.
This is.
Okay.
Okay. So,
It was ring.
where was I?
The moratorium
Oh,
going to the
so
Supreme Court.
this landlord was talking about the moratorium had cost him personally $38,000 in lost rental income. It is.
That's okay. It's not picking up.
Summary
So there's nothing-
judgment, are you
For
there?
fast pickup, we ask you to let us know that you're not a voicemail
Yeah, there we
system.
go.
So you need to press 1 to take this call.
Yeah, just turn it off. There you go.
Guys, I'll tell you if the phone rings.
You there? Okay.
Okay.
Don't answer. Okay. So he was talking about he had lost $38,000. He said then the government came up with a program that if the tenant agreed to sign a document of some kind, the federal government would give some money to the
Oh.
landlord.
Oh yeah, here we go.
But the landlord says,
Oh.
it's JC. JC, can you call back in a little while?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll talk. Are you trying to get through on the phone? Never mind. I'll call me back on my cell phone, or I'll call you in a little while. Okay, bye. So, and then he says that the tenants that are facing eviction won't sign the document to get him money. They wanted money. Okay? And so some of them have left because they're going to get evicted. They've left the apartments. He's gone in and taken photographs.
Oh yeah.
His apartments are trashed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. That's over here. Then when they do a segment on housing, you got to go to the Secretary of Housing, HUD, And then you got to go to somebody from the White House. You got to go to somebody in the White House. Okay. I can't do this. I don't know how to do it. That's Joe from Texas. That's who's trying to call us, Joe from Texas.
Turn the phone on.
So the man from the White House comes on, and he says into my ears through the TV. Now, maybe it was fake TV.
Mm-hmm.
He said, the president is aware of the fact that this moratorium on evictions, the mandate to prevent landlords from evicting people for not paying rent, he is aware of the fact that it's unconstitutional, but he's going to do it anyhow. Okay? That's Thursday night. Now I get up and I sit in my chair in the morning with my morning coffee. I guess I'm going to take a sip of this coffee. Flip on the TV. Now they got a story where the Attorney General Garland is at a podium, and they're announcing the fact that they're going in to investigate the Phoenix Police Department for the constitutional violations that are being committed, or allegedly being committed, against the homeless in Phoenix. And I'm sitting there in a chair, ready to scream, going, "Oh! You're going in to find out if there's constitutional violations in Phoenix? Why don't you walk down the street? They're admitting they're violating the Constitution. Why do you have to spend all this money on investigations? Last night, rerun the tape. The president knows he's violating the Constitution. So if the president knows he's violating the Constitution, why isn't his ass being, what do you call it?"
Well, I mean, you could ask the same thing about Biden coming out this week and calling for Cuomo to resign because of sexual harassment against women. And my counterpoint to that is at least Cuomo was sexually harassing grown women and not small children like Biden. You know?
So I'm sitting here totally beside myself, okay? Because outside of you and some other people, I don't have anybody I can vent to about this. You know, it's driving me nuts to think that I supported Donald Trump, good, bad, or indifferent, still do, good, bad, or indifferent, and I'm ostracized for that. But these people are loving it up to this guy in the White House. And you know something? He's my president. Joe Biden is my president. Why doesn't he act like a president? Why doesn't he prevent constitutional violations rather than participate in them? I'm sorry, but it's very easy to solve, Rachel. You know the solution as well as I do. The federal government needs to send rent checks to all the landlords.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't give it to the tenant.
Right.
You sit there and you fill out a form. You say, I have a tenant who's not paying their lease
In other words,
because of the moratorium.
it would be a kind of unemployment
Right.
compensation,
Right.
but it would be for landlords.
Right. You say, my name is Ed Pruda and I own 3 condos and none of my tenants are paying rent because there's a moratorium. I can't afford to make my mortgage payments because I don't have rental income. You know, would you please send me checks to cover my expenses?
Yeah, that does make a lot
Okay?
of sense.
Because then everybody's happy. Landlord's happy because he's getting money. Tenant's happy because they're living for free.
Yeah,
Okay?
and that could go on
And
forever.
and the politicians are happy because nobody's pissed off.
And everybody will vote for him.
And everybody's going to vote for him.
Perfect solution. Then.
Now we come down to
Just have the federal government print some more
we
money.
come down to
Mhm.
student loans. Okay? I never had a student loan. I never had to pay a student loan. I really don't feel bad for people who do. They financed their education. I could have had a college education, but I did 4 years or 3 years in the Marine Corps and 1 year rolling around in rice paddies with people getting blown up around me to earn the right to go to college, to get an educational, the GI benefit. But what I'm trying to say is, now, if it's the big financial institutions,
Let me just say, this is Joe in Texas, and Joe, we can see you're calling, and we'll call him. Okay.
We'll call him. We
we
will.
will call
Joe,
you.
write his number down.
It's right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
He heard us.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting back saying to myself, I mean, I do this show more as a form of therapy than anything else because I can vent. I can get out of my system what bothers me from week to week.
Well, why don't we call Joe? Maybe he'll help you.
Okay, gotta
he'll
figure
help you
now.
do that.
I think that you gotta hit redial. Redial? No. Caller ID. It's on here someplace.
Isn't it on your
Intercom,
phone?
is it?
You put
It
it on your
is.
phone that time.
It is.
Yeah, just look
It
it up.
is. It is. Joe from Texas.
There you go. Just call
Okay,
on that.
gotta
It's a
look
lot
at the
easier. We can
information.
never figure out these phones. It's sort of become a running
I
joke.
don't know how to.
Press the green.
Okay. Something to. Okay.
Let's see how that
I'm not
goes.
good at this.
Maybe you're better than you think. Let me see what the volume is there. Maybe too loud.
Hello.
Joe,
Yeah.
we're here. We called you back.
Did you miss me?
Yes. Did you miss us?
Every day.
Well, what? So let me tell you, we're talking about the moratorium on evictions and why the government doesn't give money to the landlords for those people that they say don't have to pay their rent.
Well, we're going back into number one. It's technically out of the jurisdiction. They don't technically have to because nobody's actually signed any type of contract. Now, we're going to have to remind ourselves on a couple of things that button in. Every state has the 10th Amendment, right?
Yeah.
But anybody that has a banknote has entered a kind of a commerce deal. So the government goes in there and interferes in that bank of commerce.
Joe, far too complicated for me. Here's all I'm saying. I'm a landlord.
Maybe he'll explain.
I'm a landlord. I rented a piece of rental property to a person who needed a roof over their head,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're not paying me.
Well, no, not you and your
No,
situation.
no, no. I'm just. I am the national
And the
landlord
government-
representative. We have apartments. We rent them to people. We do credit checks. We do everything to assure that we get quality tenants in our properties so that they don't get destroyed. And guess what? They're not paying their rent. They lost their job. I understand that. I really, really do.
Yeah.
But I got to get paid or I can't make my mortgage and tax payments.
Well, and I agree. But that's where the federal government overstepped their bounds. But the states are letting them do it because they're not enacting the 10th Amendment.
Well, a lot of the states are in agreement with what the federal government is doing too. I mean, the governors and I know here in Connecticut, they definitely would be. But they should demand
Yeah.
that the federal government compensate the landlords as a result.
They're
And they
giving
probably could.
they're giving
Yeah.
money. They're giving money to everybody. Now I don't
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a
Mhm.
problem. But there's people that are saying that when they were giving $600 a week to people on unemployment in addition to their unemployment, they were making more money than they ever made in their life. They're not going to go back to work.
Well, but I don't understand that either
Agreed.
because they're not getting the $600 still. So,
No, they're not.
so that's not going to help them now.
You know, I mean, look, I understand inflation. I think that the American worker today should be making a minimum wage of $15 or more, okay? But understand something, that burger is going to cost you $15. That McDonald's is not going to have the, I went today and went to the dollar menu, And I said, yeah, I have a double cheeseburger off the dollar menu. He said, yeah, it'll be $2 and change. You know, so it's not
Alright.
the dollar menu anymore. But listen, JC's out there.
Well,
JC's
we haven't even
okay.
flipped
Go
it.
ahead, Joe.
I'll try to make this a little simple.
Okay.
Okay? As of right now, the way everything is going on, there is no meetings of the minds. So, the federal government says do this. The state government says to do this. The landlord's, saying to do this. And the occupier is getting 10 different answers. And what they're doing is nobody's really having a meetings of the minds. And everything's in a kind of like a tornado, flipping up in the wind, but hovering between the sky and the ground, right? So you got some people on the bottom, some people on the top, and everybody steered up in the middle, don't know what direction to go.
And I don't know how widespread the problem is. I mean, everybody talks about it in broad strokes, but how widespread is it? I mean, there are definitely people paying their rent. There are definitely people getting evicted. I watch it on live stream here in Connecticut during the week, eviction court. People are getting evicted. Okay,
Right.
So it doesn't apply to everybody. So how many people does it really affect? I don't know. I guess we could find that out if we really looked into it.
Well, nationwide, it's going to affect a lot of people because, once again, after the mandate was over, there was no set contract after that point of view. Now, the people that didn't pay their land payments or rent, they're stuck, right?
Well-
Okay, look at it this way. So, when you're involved, not bankruptcy, but when you're behind on your land payments, and the bank comes and takes the note, all right? Now, what they do is say, hey, you get an attorney. Well, attorney says, well, we can't do nothing until 90 days. Don't pay them nothing, right? Well, after that 90 days, what happens? You get further behind.
Yeah.
So it edited and abetted of the conflict against you, right? And that's where we're at right now. You had all these promises. You didn't pay for that 90 days, but the bank still wants their money, and the judge is going to say, well, you still owe them money.
I mean, that's why the mortgage, the moratorium on paying mortgages, you didn't have to pay your mortgage here for a while. Well, that's just crazy because at some point you are going to have to catch up. And I don't know if that's true with rent or not. I would think it would be true with rent.
Here's what I try to tell people, because I've had people that have run into these situations, and I go like this. Okay, you've been out of work for a year. Okay, have you put any money aside? $10, $20, $100, $200. Have you taken any of your money that you have and put it in a pot for when this thing gets resolved? You can walk up to the bank and say, look, I may not have all of my payments, but I've put in the pot everything that I've been able to save, and I'd like to give it to you. Or, can you walk up to the bank? I know that a lot of banks let you take a mortgage payment and put it at the end of the loan. Mortgage forgiveness, so to speak. Monthly forgiveness. But I just can't understand how you can tell landlords or prohibit landlords from evicting people who don't pay their rent. I just don't understand it. And
Well, it's not really made to understand. And once again, we're going to go back with the federal government overstepping the bounds, right? So now when you overstep something that you don't have no authority, then it's all in chaos, no meetings in the minds.
it's definitely in chaos.
And it's designed that way on purpose, sad to say.
Well, Joe, I gotta call JC.
Glad you were able to get through
Because
to call.
we're going to try to be here next Sunday. We're going to be doing Sundays now because Rachel and somebody
We already
else are
explained
taking.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Joe, we'll see you next Sunday.
Bye, Joe.
Okay.
All right, have a good one, y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Now I'm going to call. Now, let me tell you what JC is going to talk about because I have a pretty good idea. Okay.
I know it's 619 because that comes up a lot. There you go.
Here's the deal. Evidently, it's not known yet. It may be known today.
Why don't you let him tell it then?
Hey, buddy.
The Federal Law Enforcement Training Center
Yes.
has an issue. Am I correct?
Yes, it does.
And people are calling you to try and talk about it to get the message out. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. Tell Rachel about it, and everybody else.
Turn him up one. There we go.
Go ahead, JC.
Okay, this is what I'm being told. Is that all the trainee cadets, technically they are not employees, they're trainee cadets. Haven't been hired by anybody. They've been ordered out of the facility for 120 days if they are unvaccinated.
Oh yeah, I heard that about the FBI too. I think the FBI is doing the
Well,
same
the
thing.
federal train, yes, the federal law enforcement training facility.
Oh, okay. Okay, there you go.
But they did not yet order it off of the federal employees and the USBP and FBI and
Border
DHS
Patrol, yeah.
and
In other words,
and on.
in other words, a trainee in the academy
Okay.
is a probationary employee. He doesn't have any employment rights yet.
Mm-hmm.
And there are sworn active federal law enforcement individuals who have not been vaccinated, but they're not saying to them, show us your vaccination or there's the door.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying, JC?
That's correct. They have not said it to the employees, our federal employees, just the trainees.
I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about, the backlash. Are people going to sue, or there's just a lot up in the air right now, and I don't think anybody really wants to deal with it.
Yeah, well, try this. How would you like to be that agent who is due to graduate next week?
Who was do what?
Due to graduate next week.
Yeah, that would stink. Yeah, it really would.
He's gone through the training.
You
and
know
he's-
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of times these people pay for a lot of that stuff, and it ain't like they're being paid to be there. That's their time, their money.
I
They
find
buy
it
the
hard to
radio,
believe
they
that
buy
they're
the
not being
book,
paid.
they buy,
Yeah.
Well, all right, JC, were you watching at the beginning of the show? Yes or no?
today. No, I wasn't doing anything till you just called me.
Okay. What we said to everybody was this. Because of some conflict in scheduling, Rachel and somebody else are taking a real estate course. We're going to try and do the shows on Sundays, Sunday afternoons versus Saturday afternoons. So, is the audio good out there?
Yeah, I mean,
Pictures
I don't know,
good?
but I'm not even watching, man.
I
On
knew
my
he was
phone
going to say
outside.
that. I could tell by the way, his reaction.
Oh my God.
I knew exactly.
All right,
what he was gonna
JC,
say.
listen, we just wanted to let you know that I knew that you had a topic about the federal law enforcement facility, that people were calling you to try and get
Yeah.
the message out. And
But,
I still haven't heard it in the mainstream media.
No, we've got somebody working on it from the White House press corps now. We've talked to some people, and they're on it. They've confirmed to me that they're working it.
Good.
So I believe it's going to come front and center. But I got a question for you.
Good, you got a minute and a half.
You know how this stuff really all started?
No, go ahead.
Let's go back to Bush with swine flu. Bush was the original one who tried to shut down our economy and everything, and the Democrats refused to let it happen.
I don't remember that being as big of a deal around the world, though, was it?
Well, the thing was, it was coming from like Mexico, wherever the hell it was coming from.
JC, we're down to 50 seconds. We'll talk about this next week, about swine flu and Bush.
Swine flu. I ate that. Boy, that's going back. in
Gotta
time.
go, brother.
I haven't heard that in a while. Thanks,
To
JC.
Obama?
Bye.
Adios,
Goodbye.
amigo.
Everybody have a great week. Thanks for joining us at an unusual time. Bye.